what's up YouTube? Annie here. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about my recent trip to Paris. All the things that you need to do, see, and eat while you're there. Hey everybody! Or should I say, bonjour. French, not my language. I took 6 years of Latin, 3 years of Italian. Put me in Italy, I'm great. Put me in France and I was like, ugh. Not speaking the language made things a little bit more difficult than I'm used to, but it wasn't a huge deal as most Parisians do speak some English. So we had enough to get by, and most of the restaurants we went to, they had like an English menu as well as a French menu. So the waiters would usually pick up pretty quickly if you were not French speaking and give you the right menu that you needed. And contrary to popular belief, we didn't get a lot of attitude about it. So don't let the rumors scare you away from traveling to Paris. The people were lovely and it was easy to navigate. So let's talk about how I got to Paris to begin with. There are two major airports in the Paris metro area. There's Charles de Gaulle, which is the big international airport, and then there's Orly, which is a little bit more of like a regional airport. We use that to get to our flights for Italy, to go from Paris to Italy. I took a Delta Premium Select, I think it was what it was called, flight from San Diego to Charles de Gaulle. I landed in Salt Lake City and had a layover in Salt Lake City. The Premium Select cabin, it was very much like domestic first class. That's what it felt like. The seats weren't as big as some domestic first classes, but they had a really good pitch, so you could lay back, let's say lay back. So you could lay back, try to catch a nap. It also had a footrest that folded out, so while it wasn't like a lay flat, it was more comfortable than a typical economy seat that doesn't tilt back very far. It was also awesome. I didn't have anybody next to me, so I was able to sort of like try to spread out, or like I put my feet up on the other chair at one point. I was trying to get comfortable. I didn't sleep very well, unfortunately, and it was a red-eye flight. I landed at like 7:30 in the morning. So that was a little bit of a bummer. I just had to like power through. And the flight was kind of expensive. It was like $1,200 for that Premium Select class. So I don't know that I would fully recommend taking it. I don't know if it was really worth the money, but I'm glad I tried it out. So upon arriving at Charles de Gaulle, I had already booked a car service to take me from the airport to the hotel. I did that through Viator. I'll put their info below. They're a great site to find tours and other conveniences when you're traveling in foreign countries. It worked out great. I'm glad I did it. It was maybe double the price of a taxi. I think it was like 120 euro to get me from the airport to the hotel. But I love that I had somebody there waiting for me. Like, he was communicating with me before I even got off the flight. So that just made me feel really comfortable landing in a foreign country where I don't speak the language. And I was so tired because I didn't sleep very well. So I was able to kind of like doze a little bit in the car on the way to the hotel. Although I don't recommend that. Not a safety tip. Don't do that. Don't fall asleep in foreign cars. Don't do it. So upon arriving in the city of Paris, we had this magical moment where we turned a corner and there was the Eiffel Tower. And it was like, whoa, there's the Eiffel Tower. I'll be honest, Paris has never been super high on my list of places I wanted to go. I always thought I would get there someday, but it's never been like top of list for me to plan a trip to. But there was something really magical about seeing the Eiffel Tower in person. It looks so incredibly delicate. It almost looks like it's made of lace. And it's just a massive monument that just sort of pops out of nowhere when you turn this corner. And our hotel was really close to the Eiffel Tower, so we got this sort of like iconic landmark view the whole time we were there, which was really kind of magical. Now, I talked about this in my What to Expect in Europe video, where I talked about the hotel and how I didn't totally love the hotel we ended up at. We were at like a 3-star hotel near the Eiffel Tower. Great location. We were able to just pop over the river, go to the Louvre, see some of the other sites that were fairly close by. By close by, I mean like they were within a mile or two, so it was walking distance. We did do a lot of walking. I had massive blisters on my feet, but it was all really accessible to get to. So for this trip, I was using it as an opportunity to see my friend Christy, who I haven't seen in many, many years. She has been living in Europe for the past, 4 years now. And this was a bit of a Paris redo for her because she's been before but didn't have a very good experience, not due to the Parisians, due to other circumstances. So this was her Paris redemption trip, and she had an absolutely fabulous time. We also met up with my friends Jared and Amanda, who happened to be in the country. They were also going to the Maldives with me, but they happened to be in Paris on the way there. So we were able to meet up, go get some amazing food at Café de Flore, and we did the Catacombs together. Now the Catacombs is one of those sites that's sort of like, it's not maybe at the very top, right? The very top sites you want to go see in Paris, you want to hit the Eiffel Tower, you want to see the Arc de Triomphe, you want to see the Louvre, and you want to see Notre Dame, right? Those are sort of your 4 like must-hit spots in Paris. The Catacombs is one of those sort of like weird little niche tours that was so fascinating, so creepy. I would highly recommend, if you're not claustrophobic, if you're not totally freaked out by death, go do the Catacombs. If you're not familiar with the Catacombs are a series of tunnels underneath the city of Paris. Once upon a time, there were major limestone quarries there, and the city started sort of settling into the limestone quarries. It was a big problem. So they started to shore up these networks of tunnels to support the city. And then, years later, they were having a problem with the cemeteries overflowing. Yeah, this gets gross, hang on. And there was a story, so when we went, we listened to like the little audio things, and it would tell us all this stuff about the catacombs. And they told this story about how cemeteries were like breaking into people's basements, and people were finding like corpses in their basements. That had to be a bad day. So then they were like, well, we've got all these tunnels under the city, why don't we put the bodies down there? It's probably not where my head would have gone. So you go down into these tunnels, and there are these like dire warning signs about like no flash photography, no selfie sticks, like don't touch anything. It was like a massive, I think it was like I don't remember if it was a 1,500 or 15,000 euro fine if you touched anything. It was like, don't touch anything. So you walk through these main tunnels, and you kind of turn a corner, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, there are bones stacked everywhere. Like the walls are just stacked with femur bones, and then skulls, and then they're arranged into these like really beautiful patterns and designs, and you kind of walk through and it's like, wow, this is really amazing. Holy crap, these are actual dead people. It's like art, like it's artwork.
That's what we're saying.
Made out of dead
Christy
people.
noticed hearts.
I love when there's a bunch of them just staring right at you though, right?
Looking at like how these like the skulls like knit together. Yeah. And then you think like, my skull does that, and that freaks me out. So anyway, Catacombs, really, really cool. Really glad I went with that group of friends who really appreciated it for what it was. Kind of creepy. Kind of creepy. So other than seeing the Catacombs, we also were able to go look at Notre Dame from the outside. Notre Dame is still under construction after that big fire that they had. I know they're trying to get it done before the Paris Olympics next year, so fingers crossed that they're able to finish that restoration work. I'm disappointed we couldn't go inside, but it looks absolutely stunningly beautiful. And right across the river from Notre Dame is the Shakespeare and Company Bookstore, which was on my friends list, and I was like, oh, it's a bookstore, like, and it's an English bookstore in Paris. So cute. It was so charming. You have to wait in a little bit of a line outside to get in, but the line was maybe 20 minutes to get in. Not bad at all. And they had just everything you could want. Everything is so cozy and just has this wonderful character to it. So if you are a book lover, I highly recommend making a stop by Shakespeare and Company when you're in Paris. Now, of course, we also had to go make a stop at the Louvre, which is one of the most beautiful museums in the world. It's absolutely massive as well, and we only really spent time in 2 of the galleries while we were there. We did go see the famous Mona Lisa, although we didn't stand in line because that line was way too freaking long to stand in to see that painting when you could kind of see it from afar anyway. So we skipped that. But we did see Madonna of the Rocks, we saw Venus de Milo, and one of the coolest things we saw was the foundation of the Louvre. You can actually go down into the basement and see the actual castle ramparts of the original part. I don't know, that's the kind of stuff I really enjoy. So we saw the Catacombs, we saw the Louvre, saw the Eiffel Tower from the outside. We didn't go up into the Eiffel Tower because we had walked enough at that point and it was kind of chilly. And we saw Notre Dame from the outside. Oh, and then we saw Arc de Triomphe. because that, my friends, is where all the good shopping is. Down the Champs-Élysées, which I'm sure I'm absolutely butchering. Again, French, not my language. But that's where all the major luxury brands have their stores, although there are luxury stores dotted throughout the rest of the city as well. But huge lines outside of these shops to get in just to shop. Very different from like American shopping where we do a lot of browsing. Like these people were going in and they were being met by a sales associate who like walked them through the store and, you know, helped them buy whatever. So browsing was like, I'd say, I felt like, at least my personal experience, I felt like browsing was a little bit like discouraged. The shop associates were very like on you, being helpful, but also like buy something, which I did. I bought this really cute Louis Vuitton wallet. I think the sales associate was very disappointed that I was only buying like a 400 euro wallet, but it was a 400 euro wallet, man. That was like more than my plane ticket to Italy. So I feel good about my purchase, thank you. Now the best part of Paris is the food. As always, anytime you travel to a foreign country, to a foreign city, I recommend trying to find out where the locals eat as much as possible, because you can pop into a cafe, but you're probably gonna be popping into a place that's close to a major landmark, tourist site, which means that that place is also probably going to be a little bit of a tourist trap. Not saying that that means it's bad, but I think you'll have a more authentic and better experience if you can find a place where the locals go. So for me, dinners were pretty, I'd say like 50-50. We had a couple places we went that were really, really good. There was this hole-in-the-wall bistro that I found online, wasn't too far from where we were, and it was a teeny tiny little place. They had like 6 things on the menu. The special was beef cheeks, and they were phenomenal. That was probably the best thing I ate the entire time we were there. Then there were some other places we went, like this little cafe on the Rue Claire, which is a little bit of like a touristy street. It's like well known as being a market street. It was super, super cute. But the food I had wasn't the best thing I'd had while I was in Paris. So as always, try to stay away from the touristy spots. Now, the amazing thing in Paris is the bread. We just don't eat bread like that in America. We eat really crappy processed bread that lasts on the shelf for 3 weeks, and it shouldn't. And it is like weirdly not uncommon to see somebody in Paris just walking around eating a baguette. Like, thing of bread, and they're just walking around like, it's fabulous, so cool. And now Paris is known as the city of love, but the only love affair I had was with a pain au chocolat. That's a chocolate croissant for those of you in layman's terms. It was so good. The last thing I want to highlight for you in this video was the time of year that we went. We went in January, which is not a high tourist season in Europe or in Paris. It was chilly. It was about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, sort of on and off rain showers, but it wasn't freezing. And the greatest thing about it was that because it wasn't high season, the lines weren't that bad. We were able to still get into attractions the same day. The Louvre tickets we got like the day before. I think there was like one museum we couldn't get into, and that wasn't surprising because it was also like a Sunday, and that was a little bit of a bummer. We couldn't get into the Musée d'Orsay. But we were able to walk right into the War Museum and see Napoleon's tomb. Again, with like the celebrating death, Napoleon's tomb was like, bro, large coffin for a small man. So having limited number of tourists there to sort of compete with to see attractions was really great. The other funny thing about it was dressing for being there. I wanted to, you know, have some really good outfits. I didn't want to go like Emily in Paris, don't do that. But I was thinking more like Sex and the City, like final episodes, you know, that kind of level of style. But it was cold. It was cold. So I ended up wearing this Athleta jacket, rain jacket, for most of the trip. Pretty much all of my pictures, I'm wearing this Athleta rain jacket. I had a pair of waterproof Cole Haan combat boots. And then I had these 2 really fun hats that I would switch out. No berets. People, I know you're in Paris and you're like, oh, wear a beret. No, nope. Local people don't wear berets, don't wear a beret. And then I wore sweaters, just cute sweaters. In fact, this sweater that I'm wearing right now was something I wore in Paris because I thought, well, it's kind of fun with the sleeves, but it's pretty basic. It's dark, it's just gonna blend in. So I dressed for comfort first and then tried to make sure that I looked presentable and stylish. So finally, Paris, will I go back? Yeah, I could definitely see going back. In fact, I would love to go back and just like spend a longer amount of time where I actually had some downtime. I could go out and enjoy myself and not be like walking and walking and walking all day, because that got really exhausting. But if I had like a week to spend where I could get a couple days of just like downtime, recharge time, I would absolutely go back. I would eat pain au chocolat every freaking day. It was so good. And I would love to just spend a little bit more time being there, immersing myself in the culture and working on my pronunciation. My French was real bad. So, merci Patty. I will be back someday. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please go like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Until next time, go create a life you love.